This is going to be a study on gluttony in the King James Bible. So make sure and turn your King James Bible to the very first scripture that we'll begin our exposition in, which is going to be Proverbs chapter 23, verses 1 to 5. When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. So you see right there that, continuing, labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom. Will thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings, they fly away as an eagle toward heaven. So you see right there that appetite and riches very much go hand in hand together. And that's why you see, especially here in the USA, a lot of preachers and things like that, and a lot of people in general that are suffering from obesity. Now, that comes with the riches that America and other nations like it have accrued over the years. America and a lot of the other nations out there that have this issue going on, they're very much rich nations. People are eating in abundance rather than just eating what their body requires. And that's where you see obesity coming into play. And also people obviously not exercising, things like that. I mean, there's a lot more there to that as well, because again, there should be a good exercise in addition to eating these foods. And again, America and a lot of other nations out there that are very rich, people are driving cars, they're not walking like they used to. I mean, if you think about it, if everybody just simply walked to more places than they usually do, that right there, we would see a huge decrease in obesity among people in these different nations. But that being said, again, appetite and riches go together. Having a lot of money means that you can have a lot of food. It absolutely does. And a lot of people do have an abundance of food here in the USA. The temptation to eat more than you need comes with the abundance. When you have an abundance of things, there is that temptation there to, again, indulge in that abundance of things that you own and possess, including food. So you can wind up overeating and just eating way too much than what your body requires, and then you wind up gaining weight, especially if you're not exercising and things like that. So very important to understand there that with riches comes the abundance. So if you're not careful with your abundance that you have, you can easily slip into to overindulging in things like gluttony. So very important to understand there. And also the thing that people like to tell themselves as well when it comes to things like gluttony is that, well, I have plenty, so therefore I'll just eat more. I could always get more later and things like that. I mean, I myself do it. I do it quite a bit. There'll be times where I will have, I will want the second helping of the type of food that's been made, and I want to, have that second helping, and the very thing that comes into my mind is, well, I'll just, I can just go out and get more. So even I myself have that very same struggle. Again, eating and indulging in very nice, good tasting food, it's a temptation, for those of us that are, in a rich nation and making good money. It's very much a temptation among people who are in a nation like the USA, where they are just able to have an abundance of things at their disposal. This is not saying that you can't be rich, but rather your heart should not be in those riches. So very important to understand right here. Again, labor not to be rich, here in the fourth verse. Cease from thine own wisdom. Will thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings, they fly away as an eagle toward heaven. So it's not saying that it's a sin to be rich or anything like that. It's saying that it's a sin when your heart is in those things. There is a difference. There is a difference between having riches and things like that versus having your heart in those riches. Which, if you know anything about the currency system, you know that it's literally, paper money, things like that, numbers on a screen that people are laboring for nowadays. It can all go south in the blink of an eye. So very important to understand that this scripture is also not saying that you can't not be rich. it's saying that if you are, your heart shouldn't be in those things. God's blessing you, amen, but don't put your heart in those things. So, very important to understand. And now we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 23, verses 20 to 21. So we're going to jump down just a little bit. Be not among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. So you see right there, shall clothe a man with rags, and the drowsiness that comes with being a glutton. And you also see that, again, it says not to be around people like that because it can tempt you. It can very much tempt you when you see somebody eating a meal and eating over abundance of things. That will tempt you right there to want to go have an extra meal yourself. I mean, how many times have you watched an advertisement on television or online watching a video or something, and it's a food advertisement, and the very first thing you think is, I would love to go get myself a pizza right now. It happens to everybody. It just sparks that desire in you to want to have that food. And that right there is the temptation. I mean, you may be full, but then all of a sudden you watch a advertisement about food and, magically you're hungry when really you're not. It's just your brain, being tricked into, well, I'd really like to go get myself some pizza right now. And then you eat it and then you very much regret it because that's gluttony right there. And you can always feel it when gluttony is committed because it usually will make you feel sick. You go from feeling nice and full and calm to this, I ate too much, my stomach hurts. That's gluttony. It's very important to understand that's why it's, gluttony. This goes back to what I've said before in other studies, that all sin is negative. All sin hurts you. So when you overindulge in food and you make yourself sick, you are hurting yourself. That's what sin does to you. When you sin as a Christian, it hurts you physically. So that's why part of maturing in Christ and part of becoming a more mature Christian as you grow and stop being a baby is being able to overcome those things so you don't hurt yourself. Very important to understand. So again, it's also the same with drinking. There's a lot of advertisements and things like that out there, especially for brethren who are ex-alcoholics and things that you got saved and you've been growing out of that. When you see whiskey and things like that being poured on television, it does make you want to have a drink. It does make you want to desire that drink, even though that if you partake in that, it's going to lead to some really rough stuff for you, and you don't want to do it. But again, the temptation comes whenever you see other people doing it. Same thing with smoking cigarettes. I mean, you name it. When you see somebody indulging in it, it sparks the sin in your flesh to want to indulge in it as well. So again, that's why the scripture is warning us of not being around those types of people, because it's going to cause you to want to partake in that. So very important to understand. Both those roads can also lead to poverty, as we can see right here. The poverty, if you drink too much and you let it just consume you and make you slack, you will not make the kind of money. You'll get fired from your job, things like that. It is right there. It will mess you up in several different ways. And one of the ways that's mentioned here is poverty. You drink too much and you become an alcoholic. You start falling asleep on the job. They start catching you with it. They start smelling it on you. The same thing with a lot of food. When you eat a lot of food and you've committed gluttony, it makes it very hard to move around and walk and things like that. A lot of jobs require you to walk or stand up, things like that. And when you have all that food sitting in your stomach that you ate way too much of and you feel sick, the last thing you want to do is stand up. You don't want to be standing while all that food is sitting there messing with you, and you can feel it. Again, and if you, of course, many jobs where you get caught sitting down when you're not supposed to, you get written up and you can wind up losing your job. There's a lot of things that go on there. A lot of jobs don't, certain jobs, there's other ones, obviously, you can sit in an office, and even then, even if you're sitting in an office and you've committed gluttony and things like that, it makes it hard to focus on your computer work. Again, it affects you in all the different ways. You name it, it will affect you. So very important to understand. That's why the poverty is being mentioned here. So again, let's just read that over again. just to again get just to reinforce what's going on here. Be not among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. So you see, again, when you're eating a lot or drinking, again, gluttony and drinking actually show up together in quite a few verses, as we'll see as we continue the study. It causes drowsiness. When you eat too much food, the reason you get drowsy is because your body is utilizing its energy to try to digest all that food, and it takes the energy right out of you. That's why on Thanksgiving, people who eat more than one plate of food or more than two plates, they wind up getting drowsy and wanting to go to sleep. And I've always heard people say, well, it's the Thanksgiving food, the stuffing. No, it's your body trying to process that food. It's using your energy to try to absorb all that food and all the nutrition from that food into your body. And when you have that much food sitting in your stomach, it takes a toll on your energy levels. Therefore, you're going to feel tired. You're going to sit down on the couch and you're going to fall asleep, which most people do on Thanksgiving. It's a tradition, especially here in the USA. A lot of people on Thanksgiving, that's exactly what they do. So again, it's one of those things where, drowsiness, there's just nothing good about it, because who wants to eat? I mean, there's times where, yeah, it's nice to take a nap, but eating and feeling sick and then falling asleep and everything, that's not very convenient. It doesn't really feel good. It doesn't feel good to be sitting there holding your stomach and then falling into a sleep just because your body is using all of its energy. It's not enjoyable. I've done it before. And as much as I enjoyed going to sleep, it was still agonizing to fall asleep. Again, it's all sin is negative, and you will feel those negative effects when things like that happen. So again, you eat too much and gain too much weight, you can't work. That's another thing too. If you remember, obesity is the result of gluttony. It is not gluttony. Very important to understand. A lot of people like to point the finger at only obese people and say, well, there's the glutton, there's the glutton. Well, skinny people can be gluttons too. And we'll get to that as well in this study. We'll go over the scriptures as well for that. But obesity is the result of gluttony. It is not gluttony. Very important to make that distinction, because I see a lot of people, a lot of brethren I've seen before have kind of done that. And you got to remember that even a skinny person can be a glutton. They're just better, really, they're just probably exercising more and better at hiding it, so to speak, versus the person who's obese. So very important to understand. But again, if you do gain too much weight from eating too much food, you cannot work. There are people that get themselves into wheelchairs because they're so heavy, they have so much fat on their body that they cannot move properly anymore. They've lost their flexibility. And it's a really sad thing. And that happens. And you have people going on disability for being so overweight. It is an epidemic, especially in the United States and other wealthy nations. Again, people are overindulging because they're increased with riches. It's it's something that you got to keep under your body. You got to keep that in mind, because it's very easy to slip into things like gluttony. It's very easy to overindulge. You can also waste all your money on both as well. When someone starts drinking and overindulging in food, let's say you go to a restaurant, then let's say they taste something really good, like there's just a certain dish that they just love, and then they want more of it, and they wind up thinking, make an excuse in their mind of why they can spend another $15, $20 on the next plate. And then all of a sudden, all their money's gone. Same thing with drinking. You drink a couple of beers, and then all of a sudden, well, it's only $3 a beer. Let me get another one. And all of a sudden, you've spent probably $30 to $40 in one night. And in some cases, that can be, a utility bill of some sort. So again, it's a slippery slope when you start overindulging in things, especially in food. And another thing too is that when it comes to things like this, is that a lot of people eat a lot of portions at night for dinner. That's another thing that I want to clarify as we begin this study and start getting more and more into this, is that I want to make it clear that gluttony is not eating 2 meals in a row. It's not getting your dinner and then having a second meal. No, what gluttony actually is that you've had a breakfast, you've had a lunch, now you're having 2 helpings of dinner. That's where you're getting your gluttony, because that is what we would call, for me, I like to work out and I'm very much into fitness and things. That's what we call a caloric surplus. You ate way too many calories than your body actually needs for its maintenance levels. Your body requires a certain amount of food to stay at maintenance. And then if you eat under that, that's called a caloric deficit, and that's where you can actually lose weight because you're eating less calories than your body burns. So that's where that's where people who are trying to lose weight, they have to get themselves into a caloric deficit. And it doesn't mean eating like a bird. Okay, I've been there, I've done that, I've tried many different diets over the years when I was younger and things like that, trying to lose weight. You do not have to eat like a bird to lose weight. What you do need to do, just a quick little side note to really lose weight, is first of all, increase your muscle mass. Use weightlifting to build more muscle on your body, because when you build more muscle, your body will burn more calories. When you build that said muscle, then you can combine that with being in a caloric deficit. And that means maybe eating 2 to 3 meals a day and time them in the right kind of fashion to where you can enjoy it. For example, I don't believe in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I do not believe in that. I believe that is a crock. I gave that up years ago when I was young. And the thing is that I do what's called intermittent fasting. So I will not eat anything until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And for a lot of people out there, they'll say that's not even intermittent fasting. They'll say, well, you should wait till 1 or 2 o'clock. No, I do it the way I want to do it. And it keeps me in that caloric deficit. And then typically for my meals, I'll have a bowl of oatmeal about 10 or 11 in the afternoon. And the fiber in the oatmeal keeps me full until about 2 or 3 o'clock, or even further than that, until it's about dinner time. Then I can have a nice big bowl of my dinner about 6 or 7 o'clock and then go to sleep and be perfectly full and fine the whole day. That's typically my kind of lifestyle, is eating in that kind of manner. It's flexible for me sometimes. Sometimes I don't always stick to it. Sometimes I do eat a couple more meals, but overall it's typically the same. And therefore it helps me maintain my weight. And I also practice regular weightlifting and exercise, so that keeps my body burning calories and building muscle mass. So it's the best of both worlds, and that's exactly how I keep myself in good shape and I maintain my weight. So again, this whole thing of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, eating the biggest meal of the day when you first wake up, and typically the funny part is it's portrayed as pancakes, bacon, sausage, all this huge calorie breakfast. Do you work in construction? Because I'm telling you right now, if you eat a breakfast that huge and you don't even work outside, or don't even have to do a lot of heavy lifting or things like that at work, you're eating in a huge caloric surplus right when you wake up. It's crazy. I could get more into that. This is not really, I don't really want to get too into debunking, a lot of nutritional type stuff that I've heard over the years. But that's kind of the idea that I'm getting at, is that overindulgence can happen in the morning. It doesn't just happen at dinner. It can happen any time of the day, and a lot of people think they need these 3 square meals a day, and I just don't believe that. I've lived off of 2 small meals, 2 bowls of oatmeal, for example, and then a nice big plate of dinner, and I'm done. Things like that. And for some people it can be different, but that's the kind of lifestyle that works for me and has helped me to really stay in good shape, in decent shape. And I praise God for it, because again, I believe that whole thing that we've been taught for years in the USA of breakfast, lunch, and dinner is a crock. I believe it does not hold water. I believe it puts everybody in a caloric surplus, because most people are eating huge breakfasts and huge lunches and then huge dinners. And then they, as a result of what we're being told in school, they wind up gaining weight. So, again, just a little side note there, just to kind of, understand that overindulgence can happen any time of the day. So if somebody fasts all day and they want to have a nice big dinner at the end of the day after they're fasting, they're not committing gluttony, because their calories are still in a caloric deficit, even if they have 2 big plates of food, because the whole rest of the day they didn't eat anything. So, gluttony is a personal thing. That's really what I'm trying to get at, is that gluttony is a personal, hey, you've committed gluttony once your stomach hurts and you know you've eaten way too much than what you should have, and you'll feel it. I don't need to give a blanket, well, if you eat if you eat 5 meals a day, you commit gluttony or anything. I don't need to make that diagnosis. You know personally whenever it's hurting you, because sins like that do hurt you. Just like somebody knows that once they've had, typically 2 to 3 drinks, they're drunk. Again, it does not something that needs to be a blanket statement or diagnosis that, hey, if you eat 2 portions of dinner, you committed gluttony. Well, that's not true either. So again, I wanted to make that point, that gluttony is a personal thing between you and the Lord and your flesh, and you will know when you commit gluttony. So again, let me see here. We're going to go to Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 16. So just a little bit further down, Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 16. Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it. So you see right there, you should eat what is sufficient for you. If you vomit what you ate, you definitely ate way too much. And that's the other thing too. When your stomach's hurting, when you're feeling all these negative feelings in your body from eating overabundance of food, if you ate too much, you can wind up throwing it back up because your body just cannot process it all right away. And there you go. That leads to vomiting and things. And people, right there that you committed gluttony. Because if you ate that much and your stomach can't even process everything that you just loaded it with, it's going to spew it back out. So very important to understand. You need to eat what is sufficient for you. And again, like I just said, that is a personal thing. Again, people can make different meal plans for themselves. And like I was saying, is that for me, fasting in the morning and then afternoon enjoying some oatmeal, and then maybe another bowl of oatmeal in case I get a little hungry throughout the day, and a smaller snack, and then at night, then having an actual chicken, rice, salmon pasta, things like that. You always know if you ate too much. Again, gluttony is a personal thing for between you, the Lord, and your flesh. So you will always feel it in your body when you've eaten too much. It's very easy to figure out. And now we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 to 17. So right on over to the New Testament. First Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 to 17. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. So again, God wants you to take care of your temple, and part of that is keeping under your body, keeping yourself in line when it comes to food and indulgence. Again, you overindulge too much, you commit gluttony too much, you will gain weight, and you will start to suffer the consequences of that weight, which everybody knows. We have diabetes now, a huge epidemic here in the United States. We have, We have, insulin resistance preceding diabetes, which is another issue as well. And then, of course, the low mobility from being overweight, people who cannot fully walk places and things like that anymore because of the overweight. There are so many health problems that spawn from being overweight. The stress that it puts on the heart to keep pumping with all the extra weight on yourself. There is the amount of health conditions that result from gluttony are huge. There's a spectrum of them. And again, it all comes from eating overindulging in all these foods. And you will suffer the consequences for that if you are overindulging like that. You will get sick. You will feel terrible. There's just so much that it does. Gluttony is a big problem. It really is. The obesity in the United States is, they've been saying it for years. You can look it up anywhere online. Obesity is one of the number one problems plaguing the United States and other countries as well. Other countries that are increased with riches, because as we talked about, overabundance comes with riches. So very important to understand. Now, let me see here. And also, gluttony is a sin. And as a result of gluttony, when you start gaining weight and developing those health problems, God is chastening you. That is God putting you under chastisement because you are not gaining control of yourself. You're not gaining control of yourself from the overabundance. So of course, the Lord is going to chasten you for that. He doesn't want people running around being gluttons and things like that. He wants us serving Him. Very important to understand. And you don't want God to kill you and come home early. That's a forfeit of rewards here on the earth that you can earn from Jesus Christ at the judgment seat of Christ. So again, this all factors into your spiritual maturity. Giving up a sin like this, giving up gluttony and things like that. That way you can serve God better because you get in better shape and things like that when you eat properly. Again, and keeping the temple holy requires living holy. And part of living holy is not stuffing your face with 6 or 7 helpings of food. So very important to understand. These are all things that, again, like I was saying, that overindulgence in anything is going to hurt you negatively. Now over to Psalm 78. Psalm 78. Much further down here. Psalm 78, verses 17 to 18. And they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. And they tempted God in their heart by asking meat for their lust. Yea, they spake against God. They said, can God furnish a table in the wilderness? So you see right there, again, notice that you can lust after meat. Again, as we were talking about, when you see an advertisement pop up for things like, Little Caesar's Pizza, that's the most prominent one in my mind. It makes you lust after that pizza, and it's good. I mean, I don't know what they put in it, and I'm not going to say it's healthy, but I do like Little Caesar's Pizza. And again, when that advertisement comes on, the very first thing that pops in your head is, I would really like to drive my car down to Little Caesar's and pick up a pizza, even though you're not hungry. It's things like that you can lust after meat. Think about like I was saying, think about the different food commercials. And that's the other thing too, is that when you've already eaten and you're already full and you lust after that meat, again, whatever happened to saying, no, thank you, I've already eaten. That's another thing I really don't hear anymore from people who maybe they're getting invited to a feast and things like that, and they've already had their dinner, and then they have to, they wind up overindulging. There's nothing wrong with saying, look, I've already eaten and I'm good. Being able to say no. I mean, it's very nice when people want to offer you food. I totally understand. You don't want to seem rude or anything, but again, you're just telling the truth. Like, look, I've already eaten, I've already had my dinner, but thank you anyways. And again, this is a subject that's really very, very near and dear to my heart because I was very overweight as a child. When I was young and from later elementary school on into early middle school, I was very overweight. I was I can't remember exactly how tall I was back then when I was just beginning to become a teenager, but I was probably about 5'5", and I was going on probably 180 pounds. I was very overweight for my height and my age. And it was a result of me eating all the little Debbie snacks that my parents used to keep at our home. They would have Twinkies, zebra cakes. That was a big one for me. Zebra cakes. I ate those all the time. I think they were called the Swiss rolls with the cream in the middle. I can remember almost all of them when I think about it. The coffee cakes, the little coffee cakes with the cinnamon on them. I can name probably almost all of them. And I was eating those constantly. I was eating those and sitting in my room, and I never really did anything outside. There was I was just sitting around in my room most of the time eating all that junk food, and I had no idea what it was doing to me. I just thought, it's sugary, it's sweet, I like it. When you're a child that young, you don't understand what all that sugar is doing to your body, because An overabundance of sugar is horrible for you. And that's what a lot of us ingest here in the United States. Sugar is in so many of our foods. It is ridiculous. That's why getting away from processed foods and getting more into, more whole foods and things like that, like getting your own chicken, your own rice, even making your own sauces, because now we have soybean oils in our sauces. We have canola oils, vegetable oils. All those hydrogenated oils are horrible for you. You can look it up. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, but I have studied this stuff and I understand what's in the food, and I won't touch it. I will make my own sauce before I even think to go buy a sauce from the store. Read those labels when you're shopping at the store, please, because you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that's in there. Just terrible. It's just terrible stuff. I mean, there are so many weird chemicals being put in our foods, and if you look, they're cheap. They're extremely cheap. No wonder they're being used by companies, because they want to save a buck on their manufacturing. So yeah, they will put garbage in the food. They will fry chicken in vegetable oil for fried chicken and serve it to you, and then you're eating poison. They won't fry the chicken in a good animal fat like lard. Lard is actually a very good animal fat. It's not artificial. It's not hydrogenated. It's a perfectly healthy fat to fry food in. And rather than do that, they're going to buy these extremely cheap canola oils and fill it up in their fryers and then fry about 6 or 7 batches. And by the time you come through that drive-through window, you're getting the 7th or 8th batch. Ugh. That should make you... It should make you think a little bit. Again, but I totally understand. I'm not, I totally understand that people get fast food. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you're just on the go, and sometimes it is nice to grab a burger and fries, but after you've become enlightened with some of the stuff that's in the food, it makes it very hard to enjoy that food anymore. It just really does. I cannot enjoy fast food after just learning all the things that I've learned about the different ingredients they put in those frying oils. It just ruined it for me. It makes it really hard for me to do it. There are some exceptions, like In-N-Out Burger. I know it's very popular over there in the western states. In-N-Out Burger, I love those cheeseburgers. And I don't know exactly what's in there. I would hope and pray that it's halfway decent ingredients, but it's probably not. But I will still eat it. Not very often, but if I'm ever out in the West and I see an In-N-Out Burger, I will have one. It's just my own temptation. And again, it's not going to, every now and then, it's not going to necessarily hurt you. But the problem with a lot of these oils that I've been discovering in my own research is that it stays in your cells for years. Some of these seed oils, they actually go into your cells and they will not come out of your cells for over 2 years. It's pretty crazy stuff. You can research that on your own time. Things like that, but knowing that just has ruined it for me. I just cannot, I don't want to touch that stuff. It's gross. But continuing here, Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 20. And that also factors into the temple, like I was saying. It takes vigilance in this day and age to keep your temple holy. You do want to check the labels of these things and make sure you're not getting these weird, nasty oils in your body and things like that, because it hurts you. You don't want to be unhealthy and get sick. And this stuff is just so prominent. It's just something. Again, you can research it, and when you jump down that rabbit hole, you will come out not wanting to touch anything. Everything you will want to make is probably going to be 100% original. That's just the way it is. Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 20. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. So again, notice, like I've been pointing out, gluttony and a drunkard is in the same verse. Again, getting drunk leads to the munchies. That's another thing too. We called it the drunk munchies when I was lost. Whenever we would drink a lot of beer or liquor, things like that, we would, even though we weren't hungry, we went and got food anyways. It was the old Taco Bell days, the late 2000s and things like that. Everybody was going to Taco Bell. That was in high school. It was a big thing. They're open so late and the food's so cheap. Beefy 5-layer burrito. The cheesy potato burrito, which I think they still have that, if I'm not mistaken. It was just so like our thing whenever I was in high school to go and get those foods and overindulge in that food while we were wasted out of our minds. It's so gluttony and being a drunkard go hand in hand. And on a side note, eating greasy fried foods can actually avoid a hangover. I actually read about that people who drink a lot, if they want to avoid getting a hangover in the morning, if they eat a greasy cheeseburger or things like that it will actually, I forget how exactly what was said, but the grease in the food interacts with your body and actually stops the alcohol from giving you the headache and the hangover, so you'll wake up the next day feeling, basically you won't have the headache. You'll still feel terrible because hangovers affect your whole body, not just giving you a headache, but it's a way to avoid getting those headaches. So again, not only is there gluttony involved, but again, people who know that, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are drinking and researching those things so they can avoid hangovers for themselves. They're indulging, to avoid hangovers or just because they have the drunk munchies. So again, those go hand in hand together, the overindulgence of food and alcoholic beverages. Again, and preachers in the United States talk a lot about drinking, but they don't say anything about gluttony. And that's one of the biggest reasons that prompted me to really do this study as well, is that I've known a lot of brethren out there that they listen to a lot of good preaching and things like that, but there's just so much Baptist preaching against alcohol and against drinking, but they never talk about gluttony. Even though said preacher who is preaching on this stuff is up there on stage and he is well over 200, maybe going on 300 pounds. And he's sitting there preaching to people about, well, don't drink that wine, don't drink that. And I've already talked about this before. Wine in and of itself is not sinful. It's the drunkardness, and things like that come into it, the overindulgence. That's the sin. So, but then you get these preachers, don't you dare have one glass of wine, don't you dare drink that. Don't enjoy some wine with your steak or things like that, or just at dinner, or enjoy wine with a piece of cheesecake. No. But meanwhile, they are going on well over 250 pounds, for crying out loud. And it's a very big level of hypocrisy that a lot of I've known some brethren in church that talk about it. Again, it's ridiculous, and they won't say a thing about gluttony because then it starts to point the finger at themselves for being so overweight and all the food that they've indulged in over the years. I mean, again, these things are, in Scripture, as we're showing, these things are both hand in hand. But yet a preacher will isolate the drunkenness, and they won't say a thing about gluttony. There's a big problem there. That's why, again, this is a sin that I don't believe is talked about enough in the churches. And it's a really sad thing because it just seems like a big cover-up because most preachers, unfortunately, are very, very overweight. They're overindulging in food. So, but I digress. Drinking impairs your judgment, which means you eat more than you need. Another thing, too, when you're drinking and you have that feeling, that buzz, that, your vision's starting to blur, you're starting to see two of everything, two people, you're going like that, closing one eye just so you can focus on the friend that you're talking to or whatever, your judgment gets completely impaired. And now you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to order me, some chicken wings. And then you order another thing of chicken wings. Then you order a cheeseburger. And next thing you know, you just ate 5,000 to 6,000 calories in one sitting of fried food that is probably fried in canola and soybean oils. So again, they go hand in hand together. The overindulgence, drinking and things like that can lead to a very high amount of gluttony. Now over to 1 Corinthians 6, verses 19 to 20. 1 Corinthians 6, verses 19 to 20. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. How is being overweight glorifying God? I mean, honestly, how is being overweight and being increased with riches and showing it because you're overindulging in food all the time, how does that glorify God? I'll wait. It doesn't. It does not glorify God. It does not glorify God to be overweight and be barely able to move your legs, to be huffing and puffing when you walk 10 feet to the pews and things like that if you're preaching in a church. It does not glorify God. It's bad. It is not good for you. It's not, it's where it causes so many health problems. How does it glorify God to give yourself diabetes? Because you gave it to yourself. Type 2 diabetes, at least. It starts whenever you're overweight and then gradually progresses until you get to where you actually need insulin. That is type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is not insulin, does not require insulin. Type 1 diabetes does require insulin. So very important to understand. And how does that glorify God? When you're walking around diseased, overweight, out of breath, do you got kids? Are you able to keep up with them? Do they want to go out? Daddy, can we go out and play? We want you to play with us. Come play ball. Come play kickball with us. And you can't even kick the ball. You can't even run to first base. How does that glorify God? Again, there's so many issues with this. I really could, just on this particular subject and what I just said, I can preach on that for hours. Different scenarios of where being overweight just ruins it for you. I was there. I was a young man and I couldn't do half of the things that my cousins could do. They were sitting there running around jumping. They were in karate. I couldn't do any of that. I was so overweight and so slow, nothing worked for me. I could not make sports work. And I didn't know what to do. I was just a kid. I had no idea how to lose weight. I had no idea how to do any of that stuff. And I was missing out on fun because I didn't realize what I was doing to myself. I was a young man. I didn't even know what sugar did to the body back then. Again, and that's the idea, is that when you get to that point, you are missing out. You're hurting yourself. Again, as I just said, all sin is negative, and that sin will hurt you emotionally, physically. I mean, you name it. So again, being overweight and being gluttonous is not glorifying God in your body. And we're not talking about drinking, Don't point the finger at some, I know some drunkards. Yeah, what about you gluttonous, riotous eater? Again, you got to look at yourself and, face the music. Do you want to glorify God? Do you want to, be a mature spiritual man? Then stop overeating. Again, like I've been saying, this is very important stuff, because you hear preachers talk about the drunk drivers, but they will not talk about the riotous eating, what they do to their children by missing out on playing with them. Playing with children is important, That's where you bond with them. That's where you teach them things. You teach them how to, swing a baseball bat so they can play baseball. You can't do any of that when you're overweight and non-athletic. Just crazy stuff. So again, stuffing your face does not glorify God. Overeating destroys the temple just like drinking can. Do not be brought... verse 12. We're going to jump down to verse 12 as well. Or is this 6? We're jumping up to verse 12. So 6, you see here. Yeah, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Meats for the belly, and belly for the meats. But God shall destroy both it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. So you see right there, again, that do not be brought under the power of food. And it's easy to fall into that temptation. Again, even in all the things that I do in my own nutritional walk and things like that, I still fall into that temptation every now and then. Because, again, I have good food. I eat good food. It's not like I'm eating this terrible, it doesn't have any sauce or doesn't have any spice. There's spice, there's sauce. I mean, you can eat good food and be in perfectly fine shape. It's the overindulgence is what's going on. I've seen so much terrible nutrition advice that just ruins it for people. I've seen them out there say that you can't eat a salad, you shouldn't eat a salad with dressing because the dressing adds extra calories. So then you're trying to eat a salad with no dressing. Is just disgusting. I have heard some horrible fitness advice because I was seeking, back when I was younger and overweight, I was seeking to lose weight, and some of the worst advice I ever heard, don't put dressing on your salads and stuff. And that being said, salad dressing is also full of those same oils I just mentioned earlier. So it is actually important to get yourself a halfway decent salad dressing that's not full of all that garbage, or make your own. Now there's an abundance of information. You can get a recipe, make your own salad dressing if you wanted to. So, but you don't have to stop eating salad dressing on your salad. It's so ridiculous. It's terrible. Losing weight is not it does not have to be painful or unenjoyable. Eating chicken, broccoli, and rice with garlic, garlic, pepper, all these tasty, good spices, that's a perfectly acceptable weight loss meal. And as long as you, say for example, you're lifting weights in the gym, you don't even have to be super heavy weights. You're just exercising your body and building muscle and things like that, creating those micro tears from your workouts, having a good intense workout. That right there is going to solve so much in and of itself. Forget about doing hours of cardio, because that's another misconception too that people have. They think they got to do hours of cardio when really they can build muscle, and the muscle will start burning the calories for them. Now, if you combine those things, lift weights and then do some cardio, you're doing even better, and cardio could just be something as simple as a walk. Go for a walk for about an hour or so, a couple hundred steps. You don't have to do some intense kill yourself sprints or something terrible like that. It'll rip up your knees. I've done it. I've been there. I've experimented with all this stuff. So I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to these these misconceptions of exercise that people have, because I've done them. I've done them all. Really. I've pretty much tried everything. And I will give you a testimony at the end of this study, a weight loss testimony of mine, to kind of give you an idea. Again, not everybody's necessarily the same, but I do think that increasing muscle in your body is going to burn calories no matter who you are. There's nothing different about that. It's simple mathematics. The more muscle you have on your body, the more your body's going to burn. Doesn't matter who you are or whatever. It's the same for everybody as far as that goes. But continuing here, again, learn to say no. It's easy to fall into those temptations. Like I said, it's easy to fall into overeating and things like that, and you have to learn to say no. If you've already eaten, you're already full, don't partake. I mean, just learn to say no. I know it's hard. There's certain good foods that you think, oh man, I just want to eat all of this, because I've always been there. I've been at plenty of feasts and seen plenty of really great food, and I won't do it. What I do try to do is I go for the most unique meal that I've never seen before that I would really like to try because I've never had it. That's what I usually try to do. I don't worry, if I see a dessert table and I see brownies, well, I've had brownies thousands of times. I've had cookies thousands of times. But what's this cool little strawberry cake right here? There's like a strawberry, like a specialized strawberry cake, like something I've never seen before. I will happily eat that because it looks completely unique and different. That's the way I do things. That's what keeps me in line. If I do have sugar, I try to go after something I've never had before, so it makes sense to me, rather than, well, I've had thousands of cookies, so I'll eat more cookies over here or something. That's the way I do things. Again, that's just, that's me personally, and it helps. It's worked for me many, many a times. It's kept me away from 3 or 4 plates at the dessert table, because I do love sugar. I'm not going to be shy about it. I love chocolate chip cookies very, very much. That is one of my favorite foods. But it is so horrible for you. You got to be careful with it. Have it every once in a while, but man, don't eat it all the time, because it's just gonna hurt you. It's gonna bite you. Again. Now, Romans chapter 13 and verse 14. Romans chapter 13 and verse 14. But put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof. Again, like I was saying, lusting after food is a lust of the flesh. You can lust after food. It is very easy to do. Overeating is a lust of the flesh. Wanting to taste different things and things like that. And that's actually why a lot of chefs out there usually are overweight, because they don't just do taste testing. You can taste test and put the fork down and take that food that you just tested and put it in storage in the fridge where it's meant to go. You don't have to just taste it. Whoa, I like the way that tastes. I'm going to have a full bowl even though I'm not hungry yet. There's some problems there, and that's what a lot of chefs out there will do. They really like the food they just made, and they'll go ahead and have themselves a bowl, and then the next tray comes around, that they have to test. They test that and they like that and they eat more. Chefs are very notorious for being overweight, and it's probably because they're taste testing. They're testing all these things, and then they begin to indulge because they can't just let it go. And it's tough. I've done it. I mean, every time I taste a dinner and things like that to just make sure it's up to par with what I like, all of a sudden, man, that was really good. I think I'm going to have me a bowl, even though it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm meal prepping, and it's definitely not time for dinner. So I totally understand. I understand the mindset. I understand where it's coming from. But again, learn to wait. Learn to say no. Real testing is done with one bite, and that's absolutely true. And that, again, that's where it leads to that slippery slope. One bite, and next thing you know, you're indulging, and you're eating at the wrong time when you're supposed to be preparing your meal. If you prepare things ahead of time and things like that. So, if you make dinner every single night something new, I understand that. Well, then of course, you might as well just have a bowl, because you're probably already cooking at nighttime when it's dinner time. So, again, teach their own on that one. And then we're going to wrap this up with Matthew chapter 11 and verse 19. So Matthew chapter 11, verse 19. The Son of Man came. Scroll this up a little bit. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they said, "Behold, a man gluttonous, and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children." So you see right there, the Pharisees were accusing Jesus of being a glutton. Very important to understand. Again, gluttony is the overindulgence. It is not appearing to be overweight. Being overweight is a result of gluttony, but it is not gluttony itself. I think we all understand that Jesus was not overweight. He was probably all the Jews in ancient Israel are probably in way better shape than any American or any citizen of the UK and things like that ever will be, because they were walking everywhere. There was so much. Think about all the walking they did in ancient Israel, how they had to go down all these long roads by themselves with no real, maybe you had horses and things like that and carriages, but for the most part, everybody walked. So everybody probably stayed in really great shape, unless they were really, really rich and didn't have to move. They could have servants go do it for them. And as we talked about, with an abundance of riches comes an abundance of food, and with an abundance of food comes obesity. So again, that's very important to understand that obesity is the result. It is not gluttony. So even a skinny person can be gluttonous. So, yes, they're very important to understand. And with that being said, that is actually the end of this study. Again, this is a study that's been very important to me, because as I talked about, I have my own weight loss testimony. I've struggled with different moments in my life where I was overweight. The first time I was overweight was whenever I was young. Like I said, I was 13 years old, and I had to figure out how to lose weight on my own. This is before the internet was very big. This was the early 2000s. The internet was still on dial-up back then. A lot of people didn't even have a computer because they were so expensive. So I didn't have really much to go on. I didn't have any information accessible to me. So the only thing I could think to do back then was copy what I saw in the Rocky movies. In the Rocky movies, Sylvester Stallone's character Rocky works out, he runs for hours, he runs for miles, and all I could think was, if I stop eating so much and I start running all the time, I've got to lose weight, it's got to work. And so that's what I did. I literally started doing intermittent fasting before it was even called intermittent fasting, before it was even a thing on the internet. I stopped eating breakfast, and I stopped eating the lunches at my school. I wouldn't even touch the school lunch. And then immediately after school, I had been fasting all day, and then I would go for a run down the local trail near where I lived, and I would run I started off maybe half a mile and things like that at first, and then worked up to about a mile. And then over the course of a year, I was running maybe 2 to 3 miles a day after school. Now that, I want to say that's not actually a good thing, because running that much can do a real heavy burden on your legs, and I didn't know any better back then. Plus I was a young kid, so I bounced back pretty quick. But my feet did hurt. I went through a lot of struggles with it, but I kept consistently doing it. And within a year, I lost about roughly 40 to 50 pounds, and I was actually in really great shape. I was actually very skinny. I went from being very overweight to being very skinny, and I was very happy with what I was seeing. And I actually, I earned respect at school for it too. A lot of the kids in my class, in my school, they saw what I had done, and they all gave me kudos. They were, wow, you did a great job. You inspired me. I inspired other kids that were overweight. There was a lot of good that came from it. It was a very honorable thing that I did. And I fasted and only ate dinners at night, and I ate what my mother cooked rather than eating garbage. I wouldn't even touch fast food. I didn't touch any fast food. I stayed away from all of it. I just ate home meals and typically dinner, and I was running all the time. And that's where I lost all my weight. And I stayed that way up through high school, and then I got into weightlifting, and that was really fun. Started to learn about how weightlifting, builds muscle and burns more calories, so you'll stay in better shape just simply by weightlifting. And I was on a really, really good track for a long time. And then up until my early 20s, I had a fool at the gym tell me that I don't have to worry about what I eat, that I don't have to eat clean, because I was trying to eat as clean as I could. I was eating a lot of chicken and broccoli and things like that, and I was doing really well. I was in the best shape I've ever been in. And I didn't know any better back then even, and I didn't research it, and I wound up dirty bulking. And that's where things really went south for me. I was dirty bulking, and that's where, if you actually watch some of my older videos on this channel, my older studies and things like that, you'll see that I was pretty overweight because I was doing what they call dirty bulking. I was eating anything with calories, whether it was chocolate cake, fast food. I was back into just a bunch of stupidity. I also gained a lot of strength from it. I actually did come out of my dirty bulk with about an extra 20 pounds of muscle on my body, but it's not worth it. I will never, again, I'm not a fitness guru, but I have researched a lot of things, and I do know what works for me and what I've used for myself. And one thing I will never tell anybody to do is dirty bulk, because it was horrible. And then next thing I know, I was about 250 pounds back up there at my current height, and I had no idea what to do. I mean, it was pretty upsetting. I was strong. I was very strong. I was bench pressing very high amounts of weight. It's not like I was, not getting stronger, but I did not like the way I was looking. That was my big problem. I was not trying to be a strong man. I was not trying to become one of those strong men guys that has a lot of fat on him, but he's also got a lot of strength. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to just be lean and, look good. That's all. And so I was very upset with where I was. And I've been struggling with that thing all the way from then, as you can see in older videos, if you go watch some of my older studies, up until these last couple of years. And this past year, what I did is I went on the ketogenic diet. I cut out carbohydrates and I cut out sugar. I went on an extreme keto diet. I cut out even tomato sauce. I didn't touch any tomato sauce. Anything with sugar in it was just out of my diet. I was eating a lot of chicken, a lot of cream cheese. I actually ate it's called cracked chicken. It's a very good, tasty recipe. A very good keto recipe. If you don't know what cracked chicken is, look it up. It's very good. If you want to try it, I would definitely recommend somebody try out that meal because it's a very tasty dish. And so I was eating that, a lot of fats, a lot of cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, a lot of sauerkraut as well for the probiotics and sauerkraut. I was eating very, very clean, and I was also fasting again, and I was using bulletproof coffee to stop myself from eating or snacking too much throughout the day, to where I was really only eating a big meal of my cracked chicken usually at night, and then I'd go to sleep. And I kept doing that for over 9 months. And in 9 to 10 months, I went from about 220, 230, somewhere in that range, down to now about 160. So it worked very well for me. And I'm praising God at the results that I got from that. From using intermittent fasting and drinking bulletproof coffee twice a day. Typically I drink it in the morning. And then the afternoon I drank bulletproof coffee, and it kept me feeling full. I didn't get the hunger pain that you usually do. And I would carry that into about 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And then I would eat my meal. And if I wanted seconds, I could, because I was in such a caloric deficit. It didn't hurt me to have a second bowl of food. Again, gluttony is the overindulgence, and that can occur at any time of the day, not just at night. And by doing that, and lifting weights, and lifting heavy weights, and deadlifting, I shrunk. I completely shedded off all the fat that I had on myself for the most part. And now I'm at a very happy, healthy weight that I'm completely happy with. And now I've gone back to carbohydrates, and I don't experience any weight gain because I keep myself under subjection. Again, like Paul said, Paul talked about I keep my body under subjection. And that's talking about sin in general, but it's also, again, can be applied to something like having to go on a weight loss journey. And as long as you keep under your body and keep yourself in those good habits, you're going to see nothing but goodness from that. Because, again, you're doing what the Lord wants you to do. You're not engaging in overabundance. You're, doing the right thing and just eating what you need rather than overindulging. So I wanted to leave off with that weight loss testimony. Again, that's what worked for me. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a personal trainer. I'm not any of those things. I wouldn't prescribe what I did to anybody else, but that is how I did it, and I'm very happy with my results. So, again, brethren, I just want to leave that with you. Again, gluttony is a very serious sin that does need to be talked about more, especially in the churches. Again, America and other rich countries are so overweight and things like that something definitely needs to be said. And I would pray that brethren and people out there would really work on getting under their bodies, bringing their bodies into subjection. So with that being said, that is the end of this study. I do pray that this is a blessing to you. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. Amen.